Hey y'all, we're going to be painting these cute little birdies today. They actually start with a tracer and they'll be cuter painted than they are on this paper. They're just, I haven't had time to do the painting yet, and I think it's always cuter on the painting than it is on what I've just colorized my drawings on. I just draw these tracers off with my iPad, and that's how they start. And this may be a little bit different than the background color on that, but it's pretty close. This is called Bahama Blue, and it's the Deco Art Americana. And I'm just going to start out with a bigger brush, and then if I need a smaller one to get in the little places, we will do that. But I'm just going to start painting this background. And I went over a branch right there because I thought it might be to where I could see through this color paint to paint my branch on there later. And I think I was right. I don't think that's going to be too dark. Now, I am trying to avoid going over the leaves, but you can just kind of use the edge of that brush, just turn it up on its side like that, and pull down around the leaves, and just let the brush work for you. If you do get it on the leaves, just remember, it is not a huge deal. I believe the green color that we're going to be using on the leaves is going to cover over that anyway, but just to be sure, I'm doing the best I can. See, I got it on that one. It's all right. Best I can to kind of avoid the leaves if possible, but I am getting all over the branches because as long as I can see them a little bit, we'll be able to do what we need to do. But just use the edge of that brush to get up around there and get this whole background area covered. And if you need to use a smaller brush for some of the tighter places, that is okay too. What I would do is probably use one of these. I think that's maybe, oh, well, I'm not in the frame. I'm so terrible at this. Ta-da! That little size brush I would get in the little places, or even a little round brush would work. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit in the interest of time and just get that background covered, and then we'll come back and paint our little birdies. Oh, wait, I forgot. Actually, no, I'm not going to speed it up because I don't remember how I'm live. I forgot I was not just recording. Anywho, I'll try to go fast because I want to value your time. But let's see, we'll just get a good start at the top. And I'm covering over these branches. I know I paint birds a lot, but I love painting birds. I don't know. They're so fun. And this one is one of my originals. I just finished up drawing this last night. Everything I put out there, some of my stuff is just licensed things that I have purchased the license to and then do the paint tutorial myself. But this one is 100% done by me, no AI or any of that mess. I just got on my little iPad and drew it off, and that is so much fun to do. If you've ever use Procreate any at all, you know it is a very fun little app. I wish I had more time to play with it and really learn what all it will do. I feel like I have not even tapped the surface of what Procreate is capable of. I'm not even going to try to get around this little birdie's legs because that would be tough. Or the beak for that matter. I'm pretty sure the color that I have chosen is going to cover over this Bahama blue. So I have been wrong before, but I'm hoping not this time. Sometimes if I think I'm going to have trouble seeing my lines once I've done the background, sometimes I'll take a Sharpie and go over some lines that I know I'm really going to need to be able to see. But I think this time, I believe it's going to be okay. And I know it looks like I'm skipping around a lot, and I am, but it's because when I have my brush fully loaded, I try to get in a bigger spot. And then when I just have a little bit of paint, I try to get in some of these tighter areas so that I'm not having a bunch of paint clumped up in one spot. And again, you know, just feel free to do what feels good to you with this. If you don't want to use a brush this big for this part, then by all means, you know, grab you a smaller one. But this one is a little bit angled, so it's kind of easy to use the tip to get in some fairly tight places, and just laying that edge down on the edge of these leaves, that's helpful. And then once the tight places are covered, it gets really fun. I hope I'm not getting that so thick I can't see the lines, but I think it's going to be all right. I didn't get enough blue paint down on my plate, though, I don't think. I love this Bahama blue color. I tend to use a lot of light blue greens for my backgrounds. I don't know, that's just seems to be my go-to for backgrounds. I don't know. There's just a lot of things that it works really well with. Yeah, I'm going to have to put down some more paint, though. Got out of that bottle. And I don't know if I have any more. It's about time for me to put in a paint order anyway, though. I've got a party coming up that I haven't ordered for yet, so maybe I can remember to add some Bahama blue to that order. I hear birds singing outside right now. That makes it more fun to paint birds when I can hear them singing. It is such a pretty day here, and it's pretty warm, but it's not hot. It's just about right outside. So I think once I get done with this, I may find something to do out there. Even though it is the worst time of the year as far as things that trigger my allergies here in Alabama, that good old privet hedge works me over, and we are surrounded by them. And they smell good, but to me, they just smell like a sneeze, because that is what they make me do, and they make my eyes all red and watery. But we got a little rain a few nights ago, and that kind of toned the pollen down some, so that helped a little bit. Okay, let's get in here on this side. And a lot of people have asked me, especially at paint parties, what about the edges? You know, usually while we're in the middle of a paint party, I don't fool with the edges. And a lot of times I don't paint the edges of the canvas at all, because to me, I feel like you don't really notice the edges all that much, or sometimes at all. So I just usually leave them white. But if that bothers you, because it has bothered me, especially before I started painting all the time. I didn't like to see the edges just left unpainted. So you can always do that later, and I would just use a brush about like this to do that, and just finish that out. But I won't do it on here today, just trying to respect your time. And see how you can just lay that brush down on the edge of that leaf and just get it traced around, or not traced around, painted around. It's almost, if you think about it, this is not much different than using a coloring book. You're just doing it with paint. And I think coloring is soothing too. But with a painting, you know, then you have something you can display somewhere in your home. And that's what I do with most of my paintings. Now, door hangers on wood rounds, I love painting on them, because that way I always have something cute for my porch. And sometimes, you know, I'll give them for gifts. So there's a lot you can do with acrylic painting. Seems like I've done more canvases in my videos lately, but I love to do wood rounds or wood anything. I actually bought a laser last year so that I could do more wood painted projects without having to buy a lot of I'm getting over that beak too, just since I did that one, just to make sure they're the same color in the wind up. But I bought that laser so that I could do wood cut projects without having to buy the blanks. Now, wood is still a little expensive, but I enjoy using the laser, and it's still a little less expensive than having to buy the pre-cut blanks. So there's our background. I do think I want to go in with just a little bit of white though, and just add a little bit of texture. So I'm going to put a little white down right next to the blue. Well, man, I'm about out of that paint too. Let's open. I'm not going to throw that away. I'm going to turn it upside down and let it all run to the top, because we are not trying to waste. But just going to put just a little tiny bit of white down. And without even rinsing this brush, I'm just going to dip into it and then just kind of knock most of my paint off. And then just here and there, I'm going to come in and make some little swooshes just to kind of, you can even go in different directions, just to give your background some interest, I think. You don't have to do this step. This is 100% completely optional. I just kind of like to sometimes play around with some texture. Got really a little more than I wanted right there, but That's because I didn't tap my brush quite enough. And if you got more than you wanted, you can always go back in with a little more blue and just tone it down a little bit. So that's what I did right there. Just kind of toned it down. And I think that's a gracious plenty of texture for that. So now we're just going to take this color called, well, let me see. Okay, I'm changing what color I want to do for the leaves. So I guess instead, for right now, we're going to do the birds. Because I knew for sure I wanted to do them this color called Thicket. And it is one of my very favorite colors that Deco Art makes. Because it is so versatile for so many things. But I think it really does make just a pretty, pretty color for a bird. And that brush is a little stiff. Let me see if I can... It's actually seen better days. But I've just ordered some more. These are the cheapest little brushes. You can get them on Amazon. And I just ordered a whole class set to use for paint parties. And the whole set, which I can't remember if it was like 30 brushes in it. Something like that, though. And the whole thing was less than $10, I believe. So just know that paint supplies do not need to be expensive. Painting is a hobby that you can usually get started in pretty cheap. You can get probably just about everything you would need at Dollar General or somewhere like that. They have canvases now and some paint too. I like the Deco Art paints, and I think they're a good value because they cover so well. But if you wanted to start out with something even less expensive than that, you know, some of those dollar store paints, there's nothing wrong with that. Painting is for everybody, and I think it should be able to fit any budgets. And I just think about years ago, I was probably about 30, 29 or 30, and money was tight, and you know, I didn't have money for a hobby. And at that time, you know, I was told about all these kind of expensive brushes, and I couldn't afford it. And so I just kind of stopped painting, and that was one of the main reasons. That and some rough stuff going on in my life at the time, and painting just kind of fell to the wayside. And when I picked it back up in the last couple of years, I realized, you know, you have access to so many things that either were not there or I didn't know about it back then. Maybe I just didn't know about it. I got a little glob of that Bahama Blue right there. I'm just kind of scraping it off with my fingernail. I just didn't want it to look clumpy right there. But I'm just using that edge of my brush to just get around the bird. I'm not even being easy with it, because you can be rough on these brushes, and they're cheap enough that if you do mess one up too bad, you can always just chunk it. And that's what I do if I forget to rinse one out good or whatever. But now, yeah, I do try to take good care of them. But then when they've seen better days, sometimes it's just time to let them go. And when you buy a whole 30 pack that doesn't cost but $10, you can kind of do that. If you're going out and you're buying a $10, $12, $15 brush, you know, that's a different story. So I don't recommend doing that. I think expensive brushes are overrated unless you're like creating something that's more like fine art and it's what you need for your craft, then absolutely, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. But for what I do, less is more. I like using the cheap stuff, and sometimes you can even use things that you wouldn't even think about. Like, I did some flowers a while back with a eyeshadow brush. I had seen this girl do it on YouTube, and you could probably find her. Just look at painting flowers with eyeshadow brush, because I can't remember her name. But they were beautiful, and like, that brush was just like very cheap. So what I'm going to do right now is, I tell you what I'm going to have to do right now is take a minute to make myself a note of what I'm doing, so when I start putting together the tutorial for this, I'll have the directions in the right order. So I'm putting down that I did the background in Bahama Blue and the birds in Thicket. And now I'm just going to come in with this. This is called Milk Chocolate. And we're going to paint the outside of the nest, not the little hole that she's down in. Actually, I think, yes, we are. But we're going to do something different to the outside. And I got way too much paint. So the nest in Milk Chocolate. Sorry, y'all. I have to make notes because I am very forgetful when I get right in the middle of something. It's hard for me to remember what I'm doing or what I have done. And I don't, you know, if I'm doing a tutorial, I don't want to mess anybody up. So I want to make sure that I have the directions written accurately. But what we're going to do to the outside of this nest in a minute is make it like, like you can see the, oh, what would you call it? Straw or whatever birds use to build their nest. I know they build a lot of things. I mean, they use a lot of things. We had one trying to get in our house last week, and I mean, he was determined. Like, he kept bumping the glass in my dining room and just trying to barge on in, and I was like, we don't need a bird in the house. And so I printed out a picture of an owl and hung out there, and he did not care. He just kept on coming back. And then I went out to my parents' house and I borrowed a dummy owl that they had hanging in their carport for a while before they had a ceiling put in it, to keep the birds from pooping on their car and truck. And I put that out there, and guess what that thing did? He pooped on the owl. He did not care. And I did everything I could think of to deter him, and couldn't get him gone. But I guess he finally just gave up. But I don't know what he was after trying to get in this house. But, honey, he meant it. He was coming in. And I was like, nope, you're not. So, anyway, I thought the bird was going to win for a little while. Oh, you know what? While I've got off this milk chocolate, Y'all are probably thinking I am crazy, and you may be right. But while I've got the chocolate out, oh, I hope I can see all those lines. I know for sure I can see this, but I'm just going to start painting the branches. And again, if you think that it would be better to use a Sharpie to go over your lines before you get started, by all means do so, because it is helpful to be able to see them a little bit better. Just want to make that a little bit thicker right there where those little branches join. And you can thicken them up in different spots and make it look like there's even like some knots in the wood or whatever if you want to. But right now I'm just trying to make sure I see where that line is going. Let's see. I'll come down from this one. Yeah, I'm probably going to be wishing that I had not done that in the white. But what you can do, if you can't see a line, look back at your picture. And I see that that one is intersecting where this one goes back this way and this one comes up this way. So that really gives me a good point of reference for, and I just set that plate down in wet paint. But it's a little thin line, so maybe it's going to be drying pretty quick. But since I can't see that, we're just trying to hit that little intersection. I can see where that line comes up to there. And so I know this one is going to have to be pretty close to just doing something like this. So yeah, get that Sharpie out if you don't want to play guessing games like this. But anyway, I believe if I hadn't put the white streaks on there, I maybe could have seen the lines. Because I could for a little while, and then I couldn't. So, anyhow, so then this one out here, it's just got a little short line connecting it, so that one was easy. And I may have to go back over these a little bit, but I believe I'm going to be able to see these on the bottom good enough. Okay. I am having to go over twice, and I may have to even come in and do another coat on this. I'm not sure. You could even put some black in your branches if you wanted to darken them up and make them however you want, but I'm just going to get this down for now, and then I'll come back later and see what we need to do to spruce them up a little bit. And that's part of the fun of using, you know, even though you're using a tracer, of all the paint parties I have ever done, not that I've done like an insane number of paint parties. I just started this last year, but of all the parties that I've done, I've never seen two paintings come out exactly the same way. And I think that is so cool because probably 95% of all the parties that I have done, no, 99%. I don't think there's but one design that I've did in a party that didn't start with a tracer. I'm just saving this milk chocolate paint. And even when they do, everybody's paintings are different. So don't feel like, oh, I can't do that because it's going to be just cookie cutter and not fun. Because that's not the case. It's going to be, you know what? I was going to do orange wings, but this just caught my eye. It's going to be a little bit different than the... Wouldn't this salted caramel be pretty for the wings? I'm going to do that instead. I am deviating from the plan. I just happened to look over and I saw that salted caramel and it is such a pretty color. And I may end up going back and changing it to orange, but let's see how these look. I think that'll be so pretty. Now, what kind of bird this would be, I couldn't tell you. I'm not the bird expert in the family. My dad loves birds, and he'll sit out in his backyard and watch them and feed them, and he set it like a dummy to look like a person sitting out there, and it had like fake hands, and it looked like somebody for real, and he put bird seed out there, and so they started coming and getting bird seed out of this dummy's hands, and then finally he goes out there and starts, y'all gonna think I'm lying, but this is the truth, he started sitting out there, and now they will come and eat out of his hands, and he gets the biggest kick out of that. Now, I'm not that patient. I'm not going to be able to sit out there and be still and wait and see how many birds come. Like, he literally keeps a tally and writes in a journal what all kinds of birds that he fed and all this stuff. So he's the bird expert in the family. It is not me. So I also got way too much of that salted caramel out, but I'm liking it. Okay, wings, salted caramel, if I can spell it. All right, I'm gonna put some of that back in the bottle too, because I've just got a heavy hand with all that today, and I'm really wasting a lot. Now, if you come to one of my paint parties, I don't want you to be worried about wasting paint, because if you're having fun, it's not a waste. I love it when everybody is having a good time, and if we use a gallon of paint, it is all right. I had one party back last year where there were a whole lot of people, and we started, I was just kind of getting started with paint parties at that time, and we started running low on paint, and I started panicking, but we were able to just start watering it down a little bit, and it worked fine. However, I have learned to just always make sure I order extra. Order more than I think I will need, because chances are I will need it, and if I don't, I would way rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Another party, probably one of my very first ones, this was terrible. I got there and realized that I didn't have any black or white paint. You talk about going into full panic. I did. But turns out the hostess had some that I could use. Now, that is not okay for me to show up to a paint party without what I need. So now it doesn't matter where I'm going. I make sure that I have one of these, these big old bottles of white paint wherever I go. Okay, so the feet, I'm making the same color orange as I painted the beaks. And it's saying my phone is about dead and I've got it charging. Hang on, let me make sure. No, I don't. I've pulled it out of the wall. Sorry about that. Okay, maybe we're going to be able to keep going now. Okay, so, the leaves. Let me run and get a different color paint. I thought I had what I wanted, but I don't. It's something different. Okay. So, I think this color's going to be prettier. It's a little brighter than what I initially had out. This is called Hauser Light Green. So, I'm going to put that down on my for my leaves. Sorry I'm having to take notes today. I live by the sticky notes. Let me put that up so I don't get confused. And I'm just going to use this little bitty brush to start doing our leaves. And then we might do a little bit of highlights on the leaves and the birds just to spruce it up a little bit. Let's see how it's going to look though, and I'll see if we are going to need them. I've got another original tracer started, but I wanted to take a week off from doing the patriotic stuff, even though I absolutely love making patriotic themed things. But I think I've done that for the last 2 videos I've done, and I was afraid people might think that's all I do, and it's not. I just like doing that. But I had done the patriotic eagle, and then last week we did the little red wagon filled with patriotic flowers and the banner that said, I think it said "Let Freedom Ring." That was a fun one. But, anyway, probably next week we're going to be back to the patriotic stuff and maybe do that through, I'll probably be doing some on and off through July the 4th because, like I said, I just love the patriotic paintings, and I'll throw some more stuff in along the way too. We'll have a good variety. Oh, I see a piece of the branch that I didn't get all the way down. I'll hop back in and do that before I move on to the highlights. And this is that leaf I thought was going to dip off the edge of the canvas. Sometimes when I do the resizing, because like I said, I do like to include a variety of sizes in my tracers, and so that way you can do whatever size you want to. But sometimes it's a little bit off, and I occasionally have tracers that want to hang off the edge a little bit. But fortunately, that usually looks pretty good if something is hanging off a little bit. it just makes the painting a little more interesting, I think. But did I say what color green I ended up with? It's Hauser light green. I think that's a good color for spring leaves. The color that I had thought I would use was a little more of a olivey, mossy color, I guess, and I just didn't think I liked it as well for this. But while I'm thinking of it, I'm gonna hop back in and fix where I didn't get that branch going down quite all the way. And I'm just not even going to put any of this brown paint out on the plate for that. I'm just going to do it with, let me go back to my frame of reference again. Let me get the little tracer out here. And I think it's just coming off this kind of like that. I knew something looked a little off, and that was it. Alright, so now that we've got that done, I'm just going to go ahead and I need to rinse some brushes. See, you probably should rinse your brushes every time, but since these are just cheap little brushes, I don't always, when I'm trying to do something, I will go ahead and rinse a few now though, because I've got a bazillion brushes, but some of them are downstairs and they're here and there. And even though I do have a billion of them, I do have my favorites, and these are some of them. So let me just do a quick rinse, and then we'll get back to highlighting these leaves. And then we'll put the finishing touches, and yeah, the birds need some eyes, I see. And maybe even a little bit of shading on them too. Wouldn't hurt anything. Just a little quick rinse. Get this big one rinsed, and we'll be ready to roll. And I think what I'm going to do with the leaves is just use, that was Hauser light green that I just painted them with. But I think now we'll go in with some Hauser dark green. And it looks really dark right there. It looks almost black, but we're just going to squirt a little bit of that down next to the light green. Man, I am low on so many colors, but I don't need a whole lot for that. And what we're going to do is just take this brush, and I'm going to dip one color in the light. One corner in the light and one in the dark. And we're just going to add a little highlight to these. That brush is still kind of wet. Make sure your brush is dry. It does a lot better. But I'm just starting like up at the tip with the point and then just bringing it down. And this just makes our leaves a little more interesting with a little bit of, can you kind of see what we're doing there? Just kind of highlighting them a little bit, and then I am going to dry this brush off a little bit though, because wet is not great for that. But just one, see where it comes to, like across there, like this little corner, I'll do in one color and the other corner in the other color. So dip one side in the light green at an angle and the other in the dark green at an angle, and then I've wiped off a little bit of it, and then just start your tip at the, standing up on its tiptoes at the point of the leaf and bring it down in a little bit of a swoosh. And if you're not liking, you can always blend some. Blending is always good. But I don't love how that did, so I'm going to blend a little bit on that one. In fact, most of these could use a little more blending, I think. And I'll just be perfectly honest, blending is not my strong point. I'm still learning. I'm still working on that. But just know you don't have to be an expert. You do not have to do everything perfectly. You just have to be willing to practice and learn and try and figure out what works for you. What works for me may not be the thing that necessarily works best for you. And that's okay, because we're all different. What I like the best may not be like what you like the best. So, you know, that's what I'm talking about when I say make these paintings your own. You don't have to do a cookie cutter just like what I'm doing. If you want it to look like this, you're more than welcome to, but you don't have to. So that's just 3 more leaves to go. That's a pretty straightforward, easy way to highlight. Just one corner in the light green, one in the dark green. Knock a little bit of the paint off on the edge of your plate. And we're gonna, oh, I hope I'm not gonna spill my water. Let me get this in the frame. If I can figure it. That is my biggest struggle, y'all, is keeping things in the frame. I'm terrible at it. But we're gonna start down here on the tip with the dark. And, oh, that is very, very dark. How did I do that? Didn't mean to do that, so we're gonna have to do a little blendy on that. And just kind of work it in there till it starts looking not quite so dark. And then, again, a corner in the dark, a corner in the light. And, let's see. Sorry to keep moving it around. It's just easier for me that way. And then from the tip, and we'll just turn the brush and work that around. Do you see what I'm doing? I hope I'm making sense here. I don't always make sense, but I do try. Okay, so we've got a little highlight on our leaves now. Let's do maybe just a little bit of highlight on our little birdies. So I've still got some of that thicket down right there. I'm going to add a little bit of white to the plate, and we'll just use, let's see, how about I want to do kind of that same thing, but this has a little bit of a rounded brush. I think that's called a filbert, but just kind of get a corner in the white and a corner in the thicket. That thicket is getting a little bit dry, but anyway. And we'll just kind of go down the birdie's belly and around its head just a little bit with the white, just to kind of give him some accents. And that might have been a little bit too much, so I'm going to go back with just the thicket and tone that down a little bit. No exact science, you just blend it till you like it. That's basically it. Get a little bit of white on his tail. I just had a memory painting this birdie's tail, like I so often do when I'm painting just about anything. But they used to tell me that if you could put salt on a bird's tail, you could catch it. Y'all, my little dumb self, I don't know of the hours that I spent trying to put salt on a bird's tail so I could catch it. I believed it. And I was after me some birds. So that was one of my favorite pastimes as a kid, trying to get close enough to a bird to put salt on its tail. Isn't that crazy? But anyway, and you can highlight these up a little bit more if you want to. Again, just make it your own. And then we're gonna, before we do our black stuff, our little outlining, oh, I got some brown on that Bahama blue, but I think I can just scrape it off. Yep, gonna have to, maybe I can spritz my Bahama blue. Sometimes when your paint starts getting dried out, you can just spritz it and get it back wet enough to, if you just have a little bitty place like that. See, that worked. Okay, so for the nest, it would be better if it was big enough to use. I usually like this technique with a big chip brush, but I don't think I can make it little enough to do that. So what I'm going to use instead is not that, because that's too big too. I think I'm going to have to go back to my old little ride or die, little wore out. This thing that I'm about to do, the more worn out your brush is, the better off you are. So I'm just going to take some of this. Where did I put that? It's like a khaki color, but I can't remember the name of it. I think it's sand gray. Well, I can't find that, so, you know, this khaki tan is going to work just fine. Deco art, khaki tan. I should have had all my paint laid out before we started, but anyhow. So we're just going to take that khaki tan and tap most of it off on your plate. And then just start making some little scratchy. And some of it can come up over the bird. You're just kind of giving the nest some texture. Just let some of it come over the edges, because that's what it's supposed to be like. And then if you want to go in with a little more of that milk chocolate, or even just a dab of black, you could do that. I'm not even going to rinse my brush. I'm just going in with a little milk chocolate over that, just tapping most of the paint off my brush, and then just, you know what, I got a little white on there too, and I don't hate it. So let's try that. A little milk chocolate and a little white, and just do our little scratchy scratches. I thought the white was going to do good. I'm really not feeling it, but any colors that you can just kind of do to just texturize that nest just a little bit. Yeah, I think some black would be a good idea, but don't go crazy with the black. If you do, it's going to be too dark and all. In fact, I think I will just mix in just a little bit of black with a little bit of this milk chocolate. That's still too dark, so I'm going to take a little bit of the khaki and mix that in. Oh yeah, I'm liking that better. Just kind of do your brush in different directions and just little short, scratchy strokes. Just get that nest looking right. Like, you shouldn't even have hardly any paint left on your brush at all when you're doing that. It just needs to be just quick little dry strokes. So now I'm going to take that black paint that we had left after we highlighted our nest and do the bird's legs. And this one's legs are just hid in the nest. She's not like Mr. Dan or anything. She's just, Lieutenant Dan. She's just down in the nest. And just going to do some little outlining here. And while we're at it, we'll make him a little eye. And that line is on the tracer too, so if you don't feel comfortable freehanding it, you can always just make sure your lines are real well traced with a Sharpie before you start, so you can see where your eyes are supposed to be. And I got that a little thick. I think it's going to be okay though. And you could also do this step with a Posca paint pen and it works fine. I just tend to like it a little bit better with a little bitty liner brush, just because it's a little bit more it's usually a finer line, and it's, what is the word that I'm looking for? A little less uniform. And sometimes I feel like not so uniform is a good thing on a painting. Let's make her a little eye. And do her little beak. Because if you get it too uniform, it does start looking like cookie cutter, and we don't want that. We want something that's really unique and cute, and let's just go around this. And I'm just barely touching the brush to it, just trying to make it a little bit of a finer line. The harder you bear down, the thicker your line is going to be. If you can just keep it just some real light pressure, that is usually best. And sometimes I hold my breath when I'm going around little places, and their little tails almost look like a little heart. And you can even change this up if you didn't like the way their little tails looked. You know, when you start your tracer, you can leave that part off and just like do a little V shape at the top or whatever you wanted to do. All kind of ways you could change it up to make it your own. And I feel like the beaks may need a second coat, but that's not absolutely necessary. And I'm just going to do a little line around the inside of the nest too, to just kind of make that a little more well defined or whatever. And while I've got my little liner brush, I'm just going to make some little X's all over this little nest, just like little hashes and X's, just to kind of make it still just a little bit more, just to help it pop a little. Oops, I dipped in the dark Hauser green. Instead, I think I will run this line all the way. I wasn't going to, but I think that would look better to take it all the way across. Yeah. But I'm probably not going to outline the outer edge of the nest just because I do want it to look like. Or should I? Y'all have really caught me thinking out loud on this painting. I guess because this is such a new tracer, and maybe I should have taken some time to really think it through before I jumped in with it. But I tell you what, I just kind of lightly outline this and call it good. And you can keep playing with these colors till you get them just like you want. Like you could go back in with another shade of brown. Or even maybe some cream color would look good. But I think I'm digging it. Well, I can't make it go under the, can you see it? I think I'm liking it pretty good just like that. So just, if you want to do that, just make you some little hash marks or X's or whatever right when you're doing your outlining. So I think I am gonna outline the leaves too, just a little bit, just a little light outline, and I hope I'm not out of the frame. Don't overthink this at all. Just we're just right now just trying to make it pop. And you could even outline these in that dark Hauser green if you wanted to. If you wanted to do them a little bit different, but I just usually choose to outline in black just because it does, it is a little bold and it does kind of really make it pop. Another thing you can do that's going to make your painting look more polished is, once it has had plenty of time to dry, which it doesn't take that long for acrylic paint to dry, but once it's good and dry, get you some spray on clear coat and clear coat it, and it just makes it look a lot more polished once you do that. For some reason, that's goes for anything, not just a canvas. The other day I finished painting my new mailbox and I liked it, but when I put that clear coat on there, honey, I loved it. It just took it to the next level. So I think what I use is some kind of Rust-Oleum that's not supposed to yellow. I'll try to think and link it. It's pretty good stuff. Okay, so I think maybe let's just add a little bit more of this orange to the beak and maybe give the wing a little. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. We're going to do a little design on the wings. I'm trying to think if that's still wet. It might be. So you don't have to do a second coat on the beaks, but I just thought mine looked a little on the splotchy side, so I decided to. And all we're going to do now, let's go back to our this picture, and you'll see like these, it just like looks like black backward threes or backward squiggles on this. So we're just going to take our little liner brush and some black paint and basically just do little squiggles like that. Just less every time you go for it, making them just kind of taper down to the end of the wing. And then on this side, you're just going to go, let's see, I'm directionally challenged. I'm thinking about this. Yeah, make it open on this side for hers. And just let the brush do the work for you. And taper that down. And y'all, unless I am bad wrong, I'm just touching that up a little bit. Our painting is done. I hope you like it. I hope that you'll paint with me sometime soon. I'll have the tracer link down below, and have fun painting some birds. See y'all later.